For me and many other people, Blackbeard is arguably One Piece's greatest villain, and his grand plan might be even deeper and darker than that of the god Emu. The beginning of that plan go all the way back to his birth, even before it, and every single action that Teach has taken in the story is building up to its grand conclusion. He joined Whitebeard and his crew all so that he could get his hands on his 2 devil fruits. He captured Ace so he could become a warlord, so that he could infiltrate Impel Down to grow his crew to become a king. It is absolutely crazy, and of course he now aims to conquer the world because that was his father's mission, and somehow there's still something even worse that awaits us after he's actually done it. And so for us to really understand the scope of Luffy's greatest rival's absolute 4D chess and what his true plan is, we need to start unraveling everything we know about Blackbeard from the start. So let's just rewind the clock way back before Blackbeard got his beard, before the bounty, before the double devil fruits, because everything about Blackbeard, like many things in One Piece, starts where he was first raised as a child, and this is already where things start getting really wild and really weird. You see, according to what we know from the God Valley flashback, Teach was born 2 years before the entire island went up completely in flames, which is kind of wild looking at it in the manga, because this little kid looks way older than just 2 years old, I think. But I guess, what can you say when Teach has such a brokenly powerful father like Rox D. Zebek? Or should I say, Davy D. Zebek? Yeah, gonna be pretty hard switching from calling him Rox all the time, but I'm working on it. So yeah, Teach's father is the man who tried to challenge Emu himself and wanted to reshape the world altogether. Spoiler alert, that didn't quite work out for him, but his father's plans explain so much about Blackbeard and his own ambitions today. The way that Teach seems to just know things that he kind of shouldn't, like the secrets of devil fruits and the way to steal them. That is exactly the kind of forbidden knowledge that Zebek seemed to know way before anyone else ever did. And with that type of knowledge, both father and son are trying to flip the entire world upside down, but what this also does, for me at least, is flip the way that we kind of look at Teach in the story altogether. Because honestly, I think you would be okay with me saying that straight up, this guy is one of the most evil, vile, hated characters in the story, fantastically written, but now we know why he is really the way that he is. He quite literally witnessed his entire clan and family get turned into demons, including his father, who then tried to literally murder him. So tell me that wouldn't leave you with some serious trauma and personality issues as well. And then there's also his mysterious mother, Iris, and let me be honest with you, I am insanely curious about what her entire story is as well. Because if we know anything about One Piece, it's that when moms show up in the story, which is very rare, I know, they are the most influential person in that child's life. Something, by the way, that Oda himself has confirmed for all of his characters. Think Sora and Sanji, Nami and Belmare, Robin and Olbia. So yeah, as YouTube's #1 mom lover, moms are the best, particularly in One Piece. My point being that Iris might actually be the true key to understanding Blackbeard's true motivations. Now, what we do know about her is that she wasn't a Davy by blood, but she was a pirate who married into the Davy clan by shacking up with Zebek. And I gotta say, part of me is just like, come on, Oda, don't just drop that she's a pirate and then don't spill any details. I kind of want to know. Was she strong? Who was she pirates with? It's kind of like what he did with Ace's mom, Rouge, as well. It's kind of like, oh look, one of the strongest fighters in the entire world just met this random, very important, very powerful woman and fell in love. No, I need some more details, please. Alright, but sidebar over. As we saw near the end of God Valley, Teach and Iris were teleported off the island by Kuma and his Pawpaw Fruit powers, which actually saved a bunch of people that day. And while I gotta say I am fairly shocked to see that Iris actually survived this flashback, it almost guarantees that we're gonna get another Blackbeard flashback where we get to see her tragic demise as well. Because when Whitebeard picks Blackbeard up, he is already an orphan. And we don't know exactly where Kuma sent Blackbeard and his mom, but one place that makes a lot of sense is of course the island Lulusia. This is where Iris and Zebek plan to meet after the battle anyways, and there's even that port town there that looks eerily similar to Shadeport, which is canonically the town that Teach was actually born in, and it's the same place that Whitebeard actually found Teach years later. So I think it's very likely that they actually went there, even if it wasn't the place that Kuma initially pushed them away to. And get this, we already also know that both Blackbeard and Shanks were on God Valley as kids. Like, what are the odds? You've got this one island that's supposed to be erased from history, but Dragon and Kuma and Shanks and Blackbeard and like everyone was just there. That cannot be a coincidence. Am I crazy here? Especially with Teach and Shanks, that feels very much like fate. Or at the very least, like there's something deeper connecting them besides just Shanks's claw marks and, you know, their animosity. But we're gonna get to that part later on. Now, think about how this really sets the stage for everything Blackbeard is gonna become later in the story. If Eddie survived, then Teach would have grown up hearing stories of his own father and how he was a man who dared to take on the entire world, Emu, and actually tragically lost. He probably would have also learned knowledge that literally no one else in the One Piece world has at that point. Idius might have even known about Zebek's plan directly. We can kind of guess that that's the case because there's this one line where Idius clearly knew that Zebek failed after seeing him being transformed into a demon, so she knew what was happening, which I think means that she knew what his goal was to begin with. And if she really did survive, then she definitely passed that mission on to her son, Teach. So here's where things get really crazy then. Everyone's been saying for many years that Teach has a weird body, right? The guy doesn't sleep, he has eaten multiple devil fruits, which is supposed to be impossible, and he somehow feels like 2 or 3 people shoved into the same body. And of course the question is, what if that's not just a figure of speech? What if Teach's weird body comes from his very special Davy lineage? Something that we hear about, for example, on Egghead when Saturn talks to his crew members. Now there's obviously something more special about the Davy clan than just being the ancient enemies of Emu like the rest of the D clan, because we did see the Davy clan members transformed into actual demons by Emu using their very notorious Domi Reversi ability. Now when I'm making this video, we still don't have an exact explanation for how this power works, but let me, Professor Ohara, educate you on some of the theories about this unique power because it's relevant for Blackbeard too. It is possible, for example, that Domi Reversi only affects people who share some kind of old connection with Emu. Like for example, they were allies or conquered enemies way back in the past. Or another idea is that Domi Reversi only works on people in their homeland, like we've seen with the Davy clan on God Valley and then the Giants on Elbaf. Or maybe there's just no restrictions altogether. Either way, it's absolutely horrifying. But if there actually were to be some special connection between the Davy clan, Davy Jones, and Emu, that could really start to explain Teach's entire deal. Maybe that's why he's literally built different. If he's a descendant of the Davy clan and Davy Jones, maybe there's some actual physical special characteristic about their bodies, such as the rumor that Teach doesn't sleep, that allows them to carry multiple souls. That's of course been a very popular theory ever since Blackbeard was introduced all the way back in Mocktown. And it honestly has a ton of evidence and theories surrounding the idea of multiple souls too. You know how like Blackbeard has the whole 3 motive, like his 3 skull Jolly Roger, his 3 pistols, his 3 braided beard strands, which is why theories like that he ate the 3-headed mythical dog Cerberus fruit or the 3-hearted giant kraken fruit are very popular. Basically, the idea with these theories is that if he ate one of these legendary mythical fruits, it could then maybe allow him to eat 2 more because of, you know, the 3 heads or 3 hearts, basically 3 different entities. So yeah, suddenly the idea of Teach being 3 people in one doesn't sound that crazy anymore, does it? But here's the real kicker, because we do know that Zebek brought up Davy Jones in his conversation with Emu. He literally thought that Davy was the old king of the world at some point, and Emu instantly shut that idea down, so maybe Emu is just kind of straight up in denial here. But if he's not, then that kind of tells us 2 other pretty big things. Number 1, Emu knew Davy Jones personally, and number 2, Davy was powerful enough that Zebek thought he once ruled everything. And of course, he seems to be someone that Emu hated or feared almost as much as Joy Boy. So, who was Blackbeard's ancestor Davy Jones really? Well, clearly not just a legend, because at this point it's pretty obvious he was a real person who had a real grudge against Emu, just like Zebek. Maybe he was part of the group that fought against Emu and lost, and if that's true, maybe the promise that Zebek says that he's carrying on is an old promise, you know, to fulfill Davy's dream. And Teach would then obviously be carrying on that will as well. In case you don't know, he quite literally named his own ship after his father, so that's a big giant message of, I'm coming for you, Emu, because Blackbeard's ship is called the Saber of Xebec. So, when Blackbeard eventually is gonna face Emu, and I think it's gonna happen, it'll be a revenge story centuries in the making potentially. And if Teach rocks up to Marijua and yells, "This is for Davy and my dad," I'm just gonna throw my chair right out the window. Now, obviously, stuff got real bad real quick for Edis and Teach on God Valley, but they got out of that hellhole thanks to Kuma, which, side note, kind of crazy that Teach owes Kuma his life, like a lot of people. Move over, Garp and Roger. Kuma probably is truly the MVP of God Valley, for being honest. But yeah, wherever they were sent, as I said earlier, I still think it's very likely that these two ended up on Lulusia at some point. And if that's true, that would mean that Blackbeard's childhood home might have been the same island that Emu then later wiped off the map too. Which, if you ask me, is actually way too poetic to just be a coincidence, of course. If you want more evidence that Lulusia is where Teach spent most of his childhood at, go back and read Ace's cover story where he's chasing down Blackbeard, because one of the first places that Ace actually went looking for him was Lulusia, the first time we actually hear about that island. So considering that Teach spent a lot of time with Whitebeard's crew, it's not that crazy to think he might have shared where he grew up, which is how Ace knew to look for him when, he actually stabbed his crewmate. Plus, of course, Blackbeard later sent his subordinate Peachbeard to Lulusia too. Yeah, that is a real pirate, in case you don't remember this thing. But Teach did send Peachbeard to Lulusia for reasons. We've never actually gotten a real explanation why, but maybe it was just kind of to keep an eye on his hometown. And since we're now kind of filling in gaps between like child Teach and young Teach joining Whitebeard, of course, the theory brain pot is really boiling. Let me just breathe in that good galaxy brain aroma, because now we can actually speculate here that Edis might actually just straight up still be alive. And one idea I want to throw specifically at you is that she might be the very mysterious Mosa character that Prince Loki's talking to on the Denden Mushi. How insane would that one be? Because if that turns out to be true, it would be quite insane. Because remember, Xebec had a bunch of connections with Herald. Xebec wanted Herald to eat another legendary devil fruit on Elbaf. So imagine that full circle moment where Xebec's wife ends up close to Herald's son decades later, who, by the way, obviously idealized Xebec. That would be one hell of a twist. By the time you watch this video, it might be right or wrong, but I just wanted to throw it out there. Of course, the sadder version of the story is that Edis didn't make it, and since she's a mom in the backstory, this also seems like it has a very high possibility of being correct, especially since Teach ends up presumably orphaned and found by Whitebeard when we get this shot right here in the Roger flashback. Or Odin flashback, technically. So maybe she died of natural causes after escaping God Valley, maybe she just couldn't handle the loss of Xebec, or maybe she is still alive and just kind of wanted to infiltrate Whitebeard's crew. Either way, her influence very clearly lived on in her son. I mean, she's kind of got to just purely based on her name, Edis, which is the Greek goddess of chaos. And Oda's not gonna waste that level of foreshadowing on just anybody. All of Xebec's knowledge, ambition, and obsessions passed from her right into Teach from the moment that he was old enough to listen, I think. And really, when we then see Teach's fascination with history, devil fruits, archaeology, and fate, we do know where it's all coming from. I mean, this is a kid who probably didn't just play with toys. He was reading, researching, obsessing over forbidden knowledge, and maybe even putting the pieces of the world together in his head already. I mean, you can almost picture little Teach sitting by a fire, flipping through scrolls of whatever, plotting, thinking, one day, I'm gonna change everything and take over the world or defeat the world. And again, Oda even said that he would be an archaeologist if he hadn't become a pirate, which honestly now makes a lot of sense and oddly would mean that he and Robin might be friends in some weird alternate timeline, I guess. The kid had to understand the entire past to actually chase the future, and when you think about it, this also explains so much about the grown-up version of current Blackbeard too. The way he manipulates, the way that he knows things that somehow no one else knows, because his entire childhood and his lineage of his two parents is the entire foundation for that. Now, of course, there's also the entire sleep issue, or, well, I guess I should say the lack of it. This all stems from the gossip Buggy and Shanks shared that Teach never sleeps while they were fighting for 3 days against the Whitebeard pirates, and honestly, the evidence for it is quite wild. In an SBS, which is one of the question corners, Oda actually drew Blackbeard as a kid with snow on the ground like it was winter, looking very sad, not sleeping under a moon. And then there's that line from Luffy about people on winter islands not sleeping, which he might have heard from Shanks maybe, but here's the kicker. Neither Lulusia nor God Valley look like they are particularly winter wonderlands, so I think it's entirely possible that Shanks and Buggy misinterpreted the entire Winter Island people not sleeping their thing, because the reason that Blackbeard doesn't sleep is actually something completely else. Something related to his body. But let's move on here. After the entire mayhem that was God Valley, the next major turning point in Blackbeard's life that we know about was joining Whitebeard's crew, which again we only kind of found out randomly during the Odin/Roger flashback in Wano, when we see Whitebeard's crew pull up to Shadeport, which kind of gives off very similar vibes to other places we've seen in Lulusia, and there is 12-year-old Teach begging to hop on board. And somehow that just worked. Whitebeard actually said yes, and I guess he is kind of known for taking in people who need a father figure. But at the same time, it's also kind of interesting because you gotta ask, did Whitebeard know who this kid was? I mean, come on. Teach looks a lot like his daddy, Roxty Zebek. It's actually kind of wild how similar they are. And if Whitebeard did recognize him as the son of his old captain, that just completely changes how we see this entire relationship. Because think about it. Whitebeard never talked about rocks. None of the old generation who were at God Valley do either. That entire era is basically erased from history and taboo, so for him to bring on Rox's son into his crew, it's kind of insane. Now maybe Whitebeard, who was kind of the second in command, was feeling guilty about what happened to his former captain. Maybe it was nostalgia, or maybe Whitebeard just saw something in Teach that reminded him of the old days. And again, it really just fits Whitebeard's big daddy vibes, where he treats his whole crew as his own sons, but man, it's honestly really tragic that this one choice eventually led to Whitebeard's own death and murder. I do wonder if Teach also knew that Whitebeard was part of his dad's crew and planned to take him down all along, and maybe even knew about Whitebeard's devil fruit and wanted, to have that specifically because he ate it later. That one is still pretty much speculative, but could fit in with what we learned during God Valley and, Rock's looking for 2 specific devil fruits. Either way though, pretty damn cutthroat for Teach to take down the man who took him in all those many years ago. But we also do know that Teach's true goal from the start was finding the Yami Yami no Mi, the darkness fruit, the one that he had been obsessed with probably his entire life, but at the very least for many years. Dude literally joined the world's strongest pirate just for a chance of finding this one devil fruit. That I think is some next level long game planning right there. Now, what's actually crazy though is that this fruit is most likely one of the 2 devil fruits that Rox himself was after back in the day as well. So once again, it's not just Teach chasing power, it's him kind of finishing his father's big mission. But here's what really sells it for me, and what actually sets up Teach as this very scary villain and character. Teach was patient. We're talking like scary levels of patient. He spent decades keeping his head down, never making a name for himself, and even encouraged Ace to become a commander instead of himself because he claimed that he had no ambitions whatsoever. Yeah, that was a big fat lie, it turns out, but he did all that to stay under the radar. If I had to guess why he did that, I'd say it probably was to hide who he really was, the son of Zebek, a Davy, maybe even the last one left at this point, although I gotta say Shanks and Shamrock might be part Davy as well for all we know, if their mother was part of the clan as well. We did first see her on God Valley and she seems to be an inhabitant. Nonetheless, Blackbeard's patient plan worked out really well. It seems like the world government didn't suspect a thing, or at least they didn't care about it. Saturn commented on Teach's lineage on Egghead, but if they knew all along that he was a Davy, then why didn't they come after him immediately? Seems kinda weird. They even made him a warlord later, which is absolutely hilarious in hindsight. Like, hey, let's give a warlord title to the guy whose dad tried to overthrow the world and knows about our secret ruler and threatened them and everything. Good job, Gorosei. Yay, top tier planning. Now, of course, that patience ended the moment that Thatch found the darkness fruit. And of course, you know what happens next. Teach kills him, steals the Yami Yami fruit, and then just dips. Just like that, years of quiet loyalty to the Whitebeard pirates go up in smoke, and he instantly became one of the most dangerous man and pirate captains in the entire world. But I do want to quickly circle back to his time on Whitebeard's crew for a moment, because there is one other really important detail that we haven't covered yet, and that is his clash with Shanks. Of course, we know that these two fought whenever Roger and Whitebeard's crew clashed, but eventually Teach pulled off the very stunning feat of giving Shanks his signature triple scar with his 3-claw weapon. And after we learned that both Shanks and Teach were both on God Valley as little kids, it really makes you wonder how deep their ties actually go and what Oda is truly planning to do with them later in the story. I mean, for all we know, they could even be cousins if Shanks' mom was a Davy as well, but please, Oda, please don't kill Shanks. I beg you. The man needs some major shine after all the glazing he's had for decades, and don't kill him too quickly, please, is all I'm saying. Now, then after he snacked the Yummy Yummy no Mi, Teach didn't waste any time starting his own crew, like no time at all actually. It's kind of wild because we don't even know if these guys were already part of like some secret network he had going on in the background, you know, before leaving Whitebeard's ship, or if he just found them after really quickly. Like, I can't imagine he just found all these people laying around and said, hey, you want to join my crew? I'm gonna start ruling the world. Yeah, no way. I think you and me both don't really believe that, right? So something fishy was probably already going on in the background, and I'd guess that he tapped them to be his initial crew years before he actually jumped ship. Because honestly, let's talk about them for a moment. These guys are all just way too insane. First up, Jesus Burgess, a musclehead who never skips arm day. Then you've got Van Augur, who is arguably already the greatest sniper in the Grand Line. And of course, who can forget the funniest duo in all of One Piece, Doc Q and Stronger, a constantly sick doctor and his horse that's somehow even sicker all the time. And finally, we have Lafitte, the most mysterious of all, you know, a guy who just casually strolls into top secret government meetings and goes, hey, you should, by the way, make my pirate captain a warlord as well. I don't know, out of all of them, there's definitely something very weird going on with Lafitte specifically. He's got these giant angel wings that have never been explained. Oda refuses to confirm his devil fruit abilities. He can sneak into places he shouldn't be able to and sway top-ranking government officials. Over the years, I've seen some really fun theories, like that he's actually the true brains behind Blackbeard's crew, which I don't really believe, I gotta say, but it just really goes to show you that this is a really mysterious and powerful dude. So, this is where Teach truly levels up his own villain arc. After leaving Whitebeard and forming his own crew, we do know that he had a concrete plan to become a warlord, which oddly included stopping on Drum Island. Not sure if you remember, but Drum Island was where he actually was first name-dropped in the story, and we do know that they attacked Chopper's hometown, but we never actually found out why. But that, of course, was the entire reason that Wapol first took off with all the doctors, so Blackbeard actually really set up the entire Drum Island arc in a massive way. Maybe Doc Q is from there, or maybe they needed some medicine, or perhaps Drum Island is secretly way more important than we ever thought, for some reasons, but his plan to become a warlord initially centered on capturing Luffy to turn him into the government, which of course is how we got one of the most iconic villain introductions ever in Jaya, which I gotta be honest, even after all these years and almost 1,000 chapters later, is still absolutely blowing my mind how well Oda juxtaposed these two characters in that very moment. Did Blackbeard kill Luffy's entire clan or steal his girlfriend? No, they just had very opposite pie opinions. They are incredibly similar and yet very different in just slight ways that see them on a path to be rivals, and that actually makes a lot of sense. It's actually scary how many values they do share. The importance of dreams and freedom is so strong in both of them, but their methods for attaining these things and going about things are of course exact opposites. This is of course also the famous scene where Luffy and Zoro then get really weird vibes and hinted at the fact that Blackbeard might be more than one person, or they were just referring to his crew. Who knows if we'll ever get an answer to that one. But after failing to catch Luffy, Fate basically handed Teach an upgrade to that, because Ace shows up wanting revenge for Thatch's murder, who was kind of part of his division. And so after a really epic duel, Teach catches him instead, turns him into the government, and boom, instant warlord status achieved. Which then of course just set off the craziest chain reaction that shook and changed the entire One Piece world. The Marineford War only happened because of Blackbeard. But while the entire world was busy getting their popcorn ready to watch a Yonko and the government clash, Blackbeard was out there running his real play of breaking into Impel Down and scooping up some of the most dangerous level 6 criminals alive in the scummiest way possible by making them all fight to the death for a spot on his crew. We're talking Katarina Devon, San Juan Wolf, Vasco Shot, Alvaro Pizarro, and Shiryu. Like, this lineup is basically the One Piece version of the Suicide Squad, if we're being honest. And then, arriving at Marineford, Teach took his wildest gamble yet. He was the one who dealt the death blow to his former captain and stole the Gura Gura no Mi from Whitebeard's body. As a result, of course, very famously giving himself 2 devil fruit powers at once, but it did seem like a huge risk to take. Blackbeard seemed pretty confident that his plan would work, but even his own crew kinda questioned if it would or not. And as they do say themselves, this was the real make or break it moment for the entire Blackbeard pirates. And ever since then, everyone has of course wondered how Blackbeard possibly could have pulled this off. I mean, no one is supposed to even have 2 devil fruit powers to begin with, so the fact that Teach did it is absolutely unbelievable and against the rules. And now that we know more about Blackbeard's very unique history, I've kind of started to wonder if his ability to eat 2 devil fruits might just tie back into his Davy bloodline. Let's be real, that would certainly be a very legitimate reason for the world government to want to wipe the entire clan off the map. But some other theories that have been around for many years are that it's actually the Yami Yami no Mi itself that lets him pull it off. Maybe the void of the Yami Yami fruit is actually the one who ate the fruit and not Blackbeard himself. Either way, it is one of the most shocking and memorable moments in the entire show to this day, and I think it always will be so. And now that Blackbeard's a living science experiment with 2 devil fruits, let's talk about the powers that make him this absolute terrifying beast. And I want to start here with getting a little bit more into the Yami Yami no Mi first. The Darkness fruit is arguably the most dangerous and powerful Logia fruit in the story. If, of course, it even actually is a Logia. I'm not fully convinced it even is. It might be a god tier level zone fruit, kind of like Luffy's Nika fruit, because normally Logias let you become intangible. Bullets pass through you, swords can touch you, you know the deal. But with Blackbeard and his fruit, it's the complete opposite. His darkness absorbs and attracts everything, even pain. When he gets hit, he actually takes more damage than anyone else. So again, maybe more evidence that this isn't actually a real Logia fruit. Though I do want to of course point out that Teach himself called it the most unique and powerful fruit in existence, and he obviously wasn't lying with that. He can create darkness that functions kind of like an actual black hole with seemingly infinite space inside, like a pocket dimension. He can pull in everything around him, people, ships, mountains, even the sky itself. And when he activates it, it's really like reality folds inward. Which, you know, seems odd. It's almost more like a gravity fruit than a darkness fruit that just, you know, makes things dark. And especially with all his attack names, it does almost feel more like a black hole fruit, an actual collapsed star. But that's probably a topic for later. If all of that is not terrifying enough though, his darkness also nullifies the powers of other devil fruit users as long as he's touching them. Think about that for just a moment. The man can literally turn off your devil fruit power, so he is the ultimate devil fruit counter. He quite literally says that he has the ability to steal the powers of the devil itself. That's at least what he says in Japanese. It has kind of been translated as devil fruits, but that's not what he says, which is interesting of course in its own way. So it's no wonder that he has hunted this devil fruit for many decades. He must have studied devil fruit since his childhood, maybe through records left behind by Zebek or even Eddie's. And I'm also like 95% sure that this fruit was one of the 2 devil fruits that Zebek needed to finish his plan, and Teach probably learned that growing up. Because let's be real, he did not just stumble upon it, He knew what it could do, he wanted it, he waited, he plotted, and then pounced the second he saw it in Thetch's hands. And we've of course known how insane the Darkness Fruit's powers are for a long time, even without having probably seen even close to its real power, but with recent events in Egghead Island and Elbaf, I've been kinda wondering if there's a connection between the Darkness Fruit and Emu's Abyss powers. Because they are obviously both powered by darkness and have strange dimension warping abilities. I mean, Teach can literally fit an infinite amount of stuff inside of his black hole, which is about as reality bending as teleportation, so maybe Teach's darkness and Emu's abyss actually come from the same mysterious source. But it also has some very interesting and unique similarities with the Nika fruit. Kind of almost feeling like an opposite to Luffy's abilities, black and white. The fruits also look very, very similar. And there is a theory also that Blackbeard was actually looking for the Nika fruit, but because they look so similar, he took the wrong one instead. Well, let's move on to Blackbeard's second fruit now. The Gura Gura no Mi, Whitebeard's legendary earth-destroying Quake fruit. It is known as the most destructive power in the world that can create shockwaves to create earthquakes or even create massive tsunami waves while out at sea. Sengoku here confirmed to us that this devil fruit had the power to destroy the world itself. Funny he phrases it that way since Emu is of course at this point also referred to as the world. Kind of potentially hinting at this fruit also being part of Zebek's plan. But of course, what does Blackbeard do the minute he steals this power from Whitebeard's body? He nearly sinks the entire Marineford island. And just the fact that he ate a second devil fruit is already supposed to be impossible. The entire world thought that if you eat 2 devil fruits, then you'll just explode from the inside, but Teach just does it. Maybe that is again another special ability of the Darkness Fruit. If he can absorb matter, maybe he can absorb other devil fruits. That would be absolutely crazy because that could mean he might have even more fruits, or maybe the Darkness Fruit is truly like a void and it actually just absorbs the powers itself. Again, kinda like how Emu seems to have access to multiple different devil fruit powers that he then hands out to his subordinates. Just saying, the connections between Emu and Blackbeard are only growing stronger. At the same time, symbolically, the Quake fruit is of course also kinda perfect to pair with the Darkness fruit as well. Blackbeard has the power to destroy the world and the power to trap the world in darkness. Sounds very much like the first world of One Piece. Not sure if it's related, but I just kind of noticed that while talking about it. Anyways, here's where things get really fun because what if Blackbeard isn't done eating devil fruits quite yet? Yes, we are gonna talk now quickly about a third potential fruit. Again, we talked about it. Blackbeard is a man of threes. He has 3 braids, 3 pistols, 3 skulls on his Jolly Roger. He's got a Paramecia, a Logia, so a headcanon in the community has been for many, many years that he will just get a third devil fruit, and it will most likely be a zone fruit, triple threat right there. The best of all 3 worlds. So then of course we kind of have to speculate on what that fruit could be, and we might have gotten the answer back in Rox's flashback. Because remember, we learned that Rox specifically wanted 2 devil fruits and one of them was on Elbaf apparently. So there is a real good chance that Loki has that devil fruit, and if Loki dies in the Elbaf arc, man, I would not be surprised to see Blackbeard lurking in the shadows waiting to snatch that fruit the second it drops. Especially if Loki's fruit turns out to be some kind of crazy mythical zone tied to gods or giants or some Norse mythology. Perfect match. Blackbeard becomes the man who wields the power of darkness, destruction, and some mythical fruit. Though of course at this point there is a lot of evidence that this fruit might have just been the Nika fruit that then got taken away from Elbaf that Luffy has now eaten, so will Blackbeard come for Luffy to get his fruit? And if it's not Loki's or Luffy's fruits, then there are some other really terrifying options too. He could, for example, go for Marco's Phoenix fruit because its regeneration powers would literally cancel out his weakness to pain and damage. Like imagine Blackbeard with darkness, quakes, and regeneration. Bro would tank nukes for breakfast. Or maybe, and this one is just giving me chills just thinking about it, what if he somehow got Kaido's fruit? I mean, if Kaido did really die at Wano, which I'm still not kind of buying, and that fruit respawns somewhere, a darkness dragon Blackbeard, that would be insane. Tell me you don't want to see a darkness dragon. I do. I'd get that tattooed on my back, actually. We've also already mentioned the Cerberus and Kraken theory, so can't rule out those still at this point either. I will say that probably a million One Piece theorists' dreams died the day that Shamrock pulled out his Cerberus sword. Turns out that dreams do die sometimes, Mr. Marshall D. Teach. Especially that of theorists, they die all the time. I can attest to that. So now Blackbeard is the unofficial Devil Fruit King since he has 2 Devil Fruits and possibly a 3rd one in the future or already, but when it comes to Haki, Teach potentially at least might still be lacking. Like, he definitely does use both armament and observation Haki. We have seen him code himself in defense and react to attacks at some insane speed, but here's the thing. His Haki hasn't really been the showy type yet. Compared to the likes of Shanks or even Luffy, his Haki feats so far have been kinda low-key, and as for Conqueror's Haki, we haven't seen it at all yet, so there's a real question of if he even has the will of a conqueror. I mean, he's not exactly the prototypical conqueror where he leaps into battle like Roger or Luffy. He's more of a backstabber, so maybe he doesn't have conquerors, but on the other hand, he is a D, he's a Yonko, he's the son of Roxy Zebek, has inherited the will of Davy. I really can't imagine a world where Oda wouldn't give him Conqueror's Haki for his inevitable clash with the likes of Luffy, Emu, Shanks, right? And actually, let's circle back one more time to Marineford, because after the war, the world, of course, was completely shaken. Whitebeard dead, Marineford in shambles, Ace dead, Luffy barely alive and gone. This was an era-defining and shifting moment if I've ever seen one, but Blackbeard was just getting started and everything really for him was just going according to plan. You see, after the war, he bulldozed through the Whitebeard pirates in the Payback War, took Hachinosu for his home island, which was Dad's old base and possibly the old home of the ancestor Davy Jones. We can assume this, by the way, because we know that Hachinosu is the place that the Davy backfights actually originally come from, and we recently learned that Blackbeard taking over the island was the famous Rocky Port incident. How it basically went down was that Law was hunting for a poneglyph on Hachinosu, but accidentally hijacked a civilian ship. This then got Kobe involved, trying to save them, and Teach took advantage of the chaos and fighting to take over the island from Ochoku, which is a crazy story to take over his home base. And since then, he's kind of built Pirate Island up a bunch, and tons of pirates have come to join his expanded crew and fleet. And all this, plus the fact that he also seized huge chunks of territory throughout the rest of the Grand Line and the New World, is how he was then ultimately crowned the 4th Emperor instead of Whitebeard. Just by the way, like how you can crown yourself an Emperor by signing up for the official Ohara Patreon if you want to support what we're doing here, because by joining, you get instant access to tons of cool perks like early chapter reactions I do, artwork, community discussions, so much more. So if you want all of that and maybe just help out the channel here a little bit, we appreciate it, and go check it out. And we even have a free newsletter if you don't want to do anything. Link is in the description below. All right, so now that Blackbeard's officially sitting at the Yonko table and the Big Boy Club, what is the first thing that he does? He goes hunting. Not for ships, not for land, but specifically for devil fruits. This man and his entire crew go on a full-blown fruit hunting spree with the goal to stack the most broken lineup of devil fruit users in the history of the story, probably. And the crazy part is that we actually know how they do it. It's not even that mysterious. Because remember Dressrosa? Burgess is literally carrying around a bag of fruits like your friendly neighborhood apple salesman, waiting for someone to die so that the devil fruit soul can hop right into one of his backup fruits. And it has very much worked. One by one, the Blackbeard pirates have started leveling up. Burgess, Van Augur, Devon, Pizarro, the whole squad has now gotten new powers, and just when you think that their lineup can't get any more busted, who strolls in but ex-Marine Admiral Kuzan. Now, Kuzan's addition to Blackbeard's crew and plan is absolutely wild in a couple of ways. The dude is of course an absolute monster. He's probably the strongest Titanic captain under Teach if we're being real, maybe even stronger than Teach, depending on who you ask. But here's the thing. I don't think he is at all in on Team Blackbeard. He's way too calm, way too smart, and you just know that Oda's saving that loyalty twist for something massive. He's been trying really hard to force feed us this idea that Kuzan has now gone bad, and I don't believe it for a second. And maybe I'm just coping, but there's just something here in my heart that kind of makes it impossible for me to think that Kuzan is part of the Blackbeard Pirates legitimately. Though I gotta say, at the very least, he is playing the role pretty perfectly. He even helped take down his old mentor Garp, but then of course spared his life, just like he did with his old friend Saul back on Ohara, and with Luffy, and with Robin. So, you know, he's playing the part, but not really committed to full-on villainy, which, you know, just keeps my hope alive that he's a good guy. Not even hope, again, I think for me it's just more of like 100% conviction that he's gonna turn back good, or has been good all along. But even with that addition, Teach of course doesn't stop at power stacking. After Dressrosa, Burgess stowed away on a Revolutionary Army ship and ended up on Baltigo, which was the Revolutionary Army's secret base. And when Blackbeard then came to pick up his right-hand man, he attacked the base and actually drove Dragon and his people out of there. We don't even see a fight, but that alone tells you everything you kinda need to know. Blackbeard can at this point hang with anyone. But it also does raise some other interesting questions like, why was Teach at odds with the Revolutionary Army if his main goal is Emu? Was he trying to capture more devil fruits? Or was this part of some other crazy plot, maybe related to Dragon? And then of course there's also his attack on Amazon Lily. After the Warlord system is disbanded, he rolls up, tries to snatch Boa Hancock's fruit, but Rayleigh and the Seraphim step in and shut that down. Kind of turns into this really crazy battle royale, which I think is one of the craziest things that happen in One Piece that people don't really talk about anymore, but really wild battle with Kobe and Blackbeard and Rayleigh and Boa and the Seraphim. Crazy. Anyways, even though he doesn't win there, he still walks off with Kobe as a hostage, which of course is what then kicks off the entire Garp rescue mission arc. And then, right after Wano, Blackbeard was hunting for something else it seems. The poneglyphs. But there's a catch, because he can't read the poneglyphs without any help of course, so naturally, what does Teach do? He kidnaps Charlotte Pudding. Because of course he does. She's part of the legendary Three-Eye tribe, and her ability to read poneglyphs basically makes her the Rosetta Stone of the New World. But of course he wasn't gonna do all the work of poneglyph hunting himself, that's not his style, which is why Shanks was certain that he would actually come to Wano after Kaido got defeated to steal one of Luffy, Kid, or Law's poneglyph copies. That's the only reason that Shanks rolled up to Wano to begin with, but instead Blackbeard kind of avoided or smelled Shanks' trap, and instead he just steamrolled the Hard Pirates over on Winter Island and took their poneglyph rubbings there. That single move throws him directly into the race for the One Piece alongside Luffy and Shanks now, cause all of them have 3 at this point, unless Shanks has the 4th, but that doesn't seem very likely. But this is where it gets really poetic, because Garp, the hero of God Valley, the guy who helped bring down rocks, the man who ended Blackbeard's father's reign, is now sitting in the sun's cage. That's some generational karma right there. If only Teach knew though that his father quite literally begged Garp to mercy kill him after being turned by Emu. And here's the thing. That entire Amazon Lily fight might have given Teach something even more valuable, a peek at the Seraphim. Those things are basically mini gods at this point, with devil fruits, green blood power, Lunarian genes, and the best tech that Vegapunk's ever cooked up in the story. So you just know that Teach took some notes, and this could be why he had Katarina Devon touch Saint Saturn on Egghead Island so that she could later transform into Saturn and command the Seraphim. Really, it's always 4D chess with this guy, although I'm kind of wondering if the fake Saturn can still give orders to the Seraphim. Like, does their chain of command still apply even though the real one is dead at this point? I don't know, but I do bet that Blackbeard is at the very least gonna try it. Now that's of course just one of the many plots that Blackbeard has been cooking up recently, but his endgame goal is trying to finish what his father started clearly, to take down Emu, and then do what? Maybe take their place at the top of the world? Or something different? The wild part is, from what we've seen in Zebek's flashback, Teach probably knows that Emu is a thing. Zebek certainly did know somehow, even though no one outside of the top officials of the government, slash the Gorosei are actually supposed to know about that, but while Rox had the whole blueprint, Teach might only have pieces that he's been trying to connect himself. Or maybe Teach already knows and is just waiting for the right moment to actually strike. Though I do think that that time might be coming very soon, or might already have come, because just when you think he's reached his limit, Blackbeard's luck keeps dropping him more gifts from the heavens. Because do you remember Karibu, the world's grossest eavesdropper who almost became a straw hat? Well, he's literally on his way to Teach's island carrying information about the ancient weapons Pluton and Poseidon. So with that info, you just know that Blackbeard will absolutely be making a play to capture Shirahoshi and then possibly break out Pluton from the walls surrounding Wano. I mean, there's basically no devil fruit more perfect to do exactly that than a Quake fruit, let's be real. Combine that with the fact that Blackbeard now has lost poneglyph rubbings, and the fact that they're closer to Laugh Tale than pretty much anyone else alive, all that's really left to do is find the man marked by flames and find the final poneglyph, and his plans don't even stop there. You see, Teach is stepping into the political realm even more because his current goal is to make Hachinosu an official world government nation. Most likely that plan is by ransoming Garp in exchange for official world government status. I mean, most likely the play would be ransoming Garp in exchange for some official world government status. I mean, my man is trying to become a pirate and a king, basically the pirate king in a different way, which sounds insane. Heck of a shortcut, though I'm gonna say the title does not count if he doesn't claim the One Piece. He's still gonna try though. Why would a Yonko want to join the world government? Well, it sounds crazy until you realize it's basically the exact same thing he already pulled off to become a warlord, because if he's following in his father's footsteps, then he needs access to Marijua, which is a lot easier to get to if you are an official world government member slash a king and you can just stroll in there whenever you want. He could literally just stroll up to the gates and they'd probably let him in that way, though it would honestly be very lame compared to his dad. Zebek just strolled in like he owned the place, took down an admiral, and then bounced, destroying one of the gates of justice. He didn't even need any official status to do what he wanted, so maybe Teach isn't quite like his dad after all. But while that plan is still cooking in the oven, we also know that Lafitte is sneaking around outside of Marijua, keeping tabs on the Revolutionary Army while they are sieging the Holy Land. And once again, given Lafitte's history, he's probably just waiting for the perfect moment to steal something or sneak someone into Marijua for some secret mission. And oh, look at that, we have Katarina Devon, who can shapeshift into other people by touching them, and she literally touched Saint Saturn before he died, meaning she can now transform into him. So just imagine a fake Saturn walking through Marijua, giving orders, manipulating Pacifista or Seraphim. I mean, again, even if Saturn's dead, it's possible that most of the government doesn't even know that, so this ability could still be enough at least to get them into places that they actually aren't supposed to be in before someone else actually figures out that, hey, isn't that guy supposed to be dead? And now that we've seen just how far Teach has climbed and his crazy plan ever since childhood to go where he is right now, let's be real, this man isn't stopping until the world's either burning or bowing to him. Every step that he takes, every move he makes, every scheme, every betrayal, it's all been building towards one big thing: the final war for the fate of the world. We know that at the end of the day, Blackbeard's gonna be right there when everything goes down. Whether it's gonna be Luffy versus Emu versus Teach in a full-blown three-way war of gods, or Luffy and Teach taking down Emu first and then squaring off themselves on Laugh Tale maybe, or the other way around, something like this is coming. You know it, you can feel it. The entire series has been leading to this for many years. And honestly, their matchup is way too poetic too. The man of light, the man of darkness, and the man of nothingness who ruled the world from the shadows. That's quite literally the holy trinity of One Piece right there: the sun god, the lord of darkness, and the empty throne. But here's the really fun part: all three of them represent totally different kinds of powers as well. Emu rules through fear and control, Blackbeard rules through power and anarchy, and Luffy rules through liberation and, well, friendship slash love, I guess. He just sets people free. And I think that's what really makes the contrast to Blackbeard and Luffy so insane. Luffy and Blackbeard are both dreamers, both monsters in their own way, but where Luffy's dream gives people hope, Blackbeard's turns that hope into chaos and despair. And so when they're finally gonna clash, when the drums of liberation start pounding and the darkness swallows the sky, that's it, I think. That's the moment everything Oda's been building towards in this show finally explodes and the dreams of the world will finally come true or come crashing down. We're talking about Luffy's dream, but also Davy Jones's dream, Joy Boy's dream. Blackbeard himself said that dreams never die, so these dreams that have been building for thousands of years in the One Piece world probably will finally come to an end. And I actually might have spoiled this because I already think I figured out Joy Boy's master plan, including his mysterious mark that he left all over the world, like Alabasta, Skypiea, Wano, and if you want to see how this theory ties everything we talked about together and so much more, you can go check it out right here by clicking. Otherwise, you are all so amazing. Thanks so much for watching. The videos have been getting really long, but I've been having a blast making them, and thanks so much to all of our great Patreons. Your support really means the world. I really can't stress this enough, and yeah, if you haven't yet, by the way, subscribe to the channel. Technically, yes, I know we don't need it, but if you haven't, it's kind of nice that you're on board, and it means a lot to me as well. All right, with that being said, I will see you in the next video.